What does Picasso, Dali, Mondrian, and Cézanne have in common? That's right, they were all in one of the most influential avant-garde movements of 20th century, Cubism. But why it was called after a cube? And why it was so damn popular? Was it because of the artists? Or maybe the other way around? In this video, I'll try to answer all these questions, as well as to tell you a short story about one of the most influential art movements in history. And strap in, because this bitch has periods and there's lots and lots of going on, so don't get mad at me for not mentioning something, because it's a lot. But it all started around 1907 by none other than Pablo Picasso, together with Georges Braque. I don't fucking know French. And this phase is also referred to as proto-cubism. And honestly, I could make entire video on each phrase it had, because it's art. Of course it's overcomplicated, come on. But the proto-cubism, as the name suggests, it was more of a experimental phase in some ways, and depicted, of course, lots of topics, but they were mostly cubic or conic shaped. Perspective? Fuck that. Give me them squares. And that was basically how the cubism was called, because this French art critic coined the term cubism after seeing Barquet's 1908's painting La Viaduc et la Destinée. I'm not gonna try. Which was inspired by Cézanne's The Road Bridge painting. Although I think he was just generally on that exhibition back then, which displayed some of the first Cubist works. And then he was like, yeah, it's fucking cubes, man. Let's call it cubism. And it stick around. He said that it's highly abstracted geometric cubes or something. I don't know. He probably added a bunch of pretentious shit to what he was saying, because he was an 1908 art critic. Come on. But as you can see, cubism got traction early on because it was new, it was fresh, because everyone was just, at that time, literally everyone was just into academic painting. That's it. All boring shit. I mean, it's amazing how some of the works from academicism are beautiful. This shit is just boring. Let's move on. And thanks to Cubism, we could move on. But Barquez has way more interesting work, especially later. And I would say 1912 to 1913 are my favorite years of his painting. And proto-cubism also used science, or rather used some of it. So they had some rules and shit. And if you thought that, oh, I could paint that, maybe after this video you'll rethink that. Because, as usual in art, it had a certain philosophy behind it. And those guys were really fascinated with the idea of fourth dimension. Can you imagine that? The fourth dimension idea just came in, and they were trying to show fourth dimensions sometimes. I know, sounds crazy. But if you look at those paintings now and think about it, it kind of makes sense now, doesn't it? But at the time, the mathematicians saw this shit and were like, yo, let me know if there are any math heads out here. Probably not, but fuck it, let's see. Type down math in the comments. Alright, let's move to early Cubism, which sits around 1909 to 1914. That era of Cubism was kind of divided, and let's call them collectors gang and saloon gang. So the collectors gang began with a German art collector, Daniel Kangweiler, I don't know, that in Paris granted himself an exclusive right to works of Barque, Picasso, Gris, and to some extent Laguerre. Daniel sold their work to a small circle of collectors, and that gave the artists freedom to experiment more and more, to focus on their art. And Picasso worked with them until 1912, and the rest of the boys worked with them until the First World War. The saloon gang, on the other hand, held exhibitions pretty regularly at Salon des Indépendances and Salon Automon, which were major salons in Paris at that time. Besides academic ones, of course, because they were still the thing. They were still regarded as the highest art at that time. And the group included a bunch of young artists like Metzinger, Glacis, Leger, or Denouet. They all hang out in Facumier studio, and the group was fascinated by form and wanted to explore forms purely. And they wanted to emphasize that. They saw neo-impressionists and they were like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? The form is the answer, you twats. And also, these fucks did the first controversy around Cubism. So it got them talking internationally. So by showing their work at Society of Independent Artists in Paris, but I don't know how that would be any controversial, but it brought them to attention for the first time. Same year, 1911, we've got this hater article from New York Times. And the article asks important questions. Like, what do they mean? How those responsible for them taken leave of their senses? Who knows? Oh, shut up, you stupid hater. Goddamn people segregating piece of shit. All the controversy occurred in 1912 and caused a scandal even amongst Cubists. Behind the controversy, we have the man, the only Marcel Duchamp, which I might do video at some point because I love his stuff. Like, literally, he flipped the art upside down. But about the controversy, the whole controversy was basically caused by one of his paintings, Nude Descending a Staircase number 2. In fact, this painting was rejected by other Cubists and his brother, which he never forgave for. But why, though, you ask? Well, because the name was too literal. Like, I'm not even joking. They would let the painting go if he would just change the name. But some also thought it's not really Cubist anymore because it's like a study of movement. So it's more of a futurism, which I get the hate they were making like fucking Mussolini bat plugs. But this painting is still fucking awesome. But despite all of this controversy and all of the Cubists just basically rejecting that painting, same year, Galerie Dalmau included his work with fully translated title worldwide at the Cubist exhibition consisting of 83 works by 26 artists, which caused controversy within Cubists again, but this gained them some traction though. And the press was not always good, but you know, when things are changing, there's gonna be some stupid press hater that's just gonna hate the idea because the idea is new. That's it, nothing else. But it wasn't important that they talk bad because as long as they talk, it doesn't matter how they talk. What matters is that they talk. They even had some scandals displaying their work at the government building because it wasn't proper enough at the time. The only thing you could display at the government building was academist work. That's it. Anyone else? Fuck off. Picasso? Ew, disgusting. Fuck, I was talking and my camera stopped recording for like 2 minutes. That's why probably it's like black. Strongly associated with an early Cubism, we have another group of people, which was called Golden Section, aka Putain Group, which was a collective of Cubist artists, including painters, sculptors, poets, and art critics. Art critics shouldn't be included into art, as an artist, you know. But the group was active from around 1911 to 1914. And why the name Putain Group? The group held meetings in Duchamp Brothers' city, Putain. That's why Putain Group. And the Golden Section, because they were fascinated with the golden ratio. And the group is responsible for biggest and the most important exhibition of Cubist work, because it exposed Cubists far and wide, and the exhibition had over 200 Cubist artworks created between 1909 and 1912. But yeah, 200 works, lots of people saw that and were like, damn, why I like Cube? I don't know, looks fucking cool. Why I like it? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I got bored with the academic shit. I don't know. Alright, let's move to another phase of Cubism, which is Crystal Cubism from 1914 to 1918. And no, it's not that kind of crystal, you fucking junkie. Although it was probably like cocaine. But what it was, in this case, crystal means pure. So just pure forms and shapes. And is a branch of Cubism that also had really cool shit in it. Although this phase itself, it's also divided by periods, because we had like first phase, then pre-World War One, World War One, and after World War One. I wonder what's that about. The fuck? Shit, my camera died. What I was talking about? Oh yeah, the crystal cubists. They also wanted to be pure as fuck, apparently, because motherfuckers were trying, like, define the laws of rhythm and space. Like, for example, Albert Glazius, he called his work philosophical and scientific synthesis. He also wrote, "The primary goal of art has never been exterior imitation. Artworks come from emotion, the product of individual sensibility and taste. The artist is always in a state of emotion." Yeah, I agree 100%. Art comes and should come from emotions and should make you feel something. If you're going out of the modern museum mad, good. It was supposed to make you emotional. If you're mad that this sold for like millions of dollars and it's just like a bunch of colorful squares or some shit, and you were like, oh, I can paint that, it made you mad, didn't it? So it means it worked. It works even on you. If you think it's ridiculous, if you think it's amazing, if you think it's beautiful, doesn't matter, it works in you and it's supposed to work like that. He also did some illustrations as well. I'm not gonna go into that because that's a lot of stuff and thinking and philosophy, but yeah, as said, lots of things going on in Cubism. But after World War One, people kind of stopped talking about it that much. I guess they had other things to worry about, like rebuilding and starvation, and I don't know, preparing for a second go, cause why the fuck not, right, Germany? Anyways, so since I don't want to finish on World War, I'm just gonna reassure you that Cubism didn't go anywhere. It was still around. For instance, Picasso was still Picassoing, but not only that, he also did some normal looking stuff. But hey, it ain't a video about normal stuff, right? But after the war, he painted 3 musicians. These paintings haunt me till this day, because my teacher put both of them on our test just to fuck with us, and no one knew that both of them were from the same artist, and the name was literally the same. But you've heard about Pablo. This you might not, because you see, Cubism had big influence in Asia. See, in 1910s, bunch of artists from Japan and China moved to Paris, and then they came back around 1920s and then introduced Cubism and overall modern art ideas to Asian markets. For example, Tetsuguro Yorozu. But Cubism had a lot more to offer than just painting. I especially like the Cubist sculptures, because just look at them go. Even Picasso did some sculptures as well. But here are the top 5 Cubist sculptors according to me. So let's go. Number 5, Joseph Tsarsky. He has rough shapes, but in a smooth manner, which I really like. Number 4, Otto Gutfreund. People say he was a good friend also. Love the violin, love the faces, love the Skoda logo. Number 3, Raymond Duchamp. Look at this guy and this thing. I want to touch this thing. I don't know what it is. I just know it feels nice. Number 2, Umberto Bocchini. This confident looking motherfucker did this, and I love that sculpture. It's called Synthesis of Human Dynamism. And oh my god, it's just perfect. And also because of this thing. Alright, number 1, Alexander Archipenko. Mwah. Just look at these things. They also had some really cool architecture, like Swiss Le Corbusier, Assembly Building in India, or Cubist Villa in Prague. And yeah, Czechs apparently liked Cubism so much they created their own style of architecture, which was called Rondo Cubism. And Cubism itself was literally everywhere. You even had like poets and writers within the movement. Like, for example, Gertrude Stein, which wrote the Cubist novel The Making of Americas. What is it about? No idea, never read it. But let's move back and try to answer our question from the beginning. Why the Cubism? got so goddamn popular and why artists from Cubism are so goddamn popular. Which was popular first? Well, to answer that question, I think I'm just gonna go with both. It was a little bit of both because we had the private collectors that were collecting the shit, the cubist shit exclusively. We had the other cubists that were just making exhibitions everywhere and making controversies because people only saw beauty and academic work at that time. They didn't like they had like really closed minds about the ideas of art, that it can evolve and it can be something different than just pretty girl sitting on a bench. You know, art has more meaning, and that broke the thing. People, for some hate it, some love it right away because it was different. It hit the spot. It created a new era in visual arts. And that in itself made the artists hella famous and hella rich, which only made Cubism even more popular because they started to get some traction. They started going to the radio, they had interviews, and they were talking about Cubism all the time. So that's why we have artists like Picasso, Dali, or Cezanne that were really, really popular, and they are still popular till this day. And Cubism, as mentioned plentiful times, it's really, really complex and beautiful and big chapter of an art history. So if you want me to cover any like particular parts of Cubism, let me know. I'll probably cover some artists like Duchamp, but most of them, they were doing other things besides Cubism. So if you're interested, let me know down in the comments. If you liked the video, if you learned something new, like and subscribe, because who knows, I might end up making a video based off of your comment. So I don't know, if you're like too lazy to search something up, I can do that for you, I guess. So yeah, remember, and the most important thing about Cubism is